Welcome, my friends. Welcome to my world. I'm your host, Kevin Rutherford. It is Thursday, December 8th. We are here live. It is a free-for-all today. Anything goes. I'm going to open the phone lines right now. Start dialing. I don't have much to talk about this morning, so it's really all about what is on your mind. If you've got a question, a comment, a topic, pick up the phone and join me. 855-950-3835. Jump in early. Let's get started. We can talk about trucks, money, fuel mileage, maintenance, tires, taxes, technology, health and fitness on the road, getting started as an owner-operator, finding freight, working with brokers, getting your authority, you name it. We'll talk about it today. All you have to do is pick up the phone and join me. A couple things going on here. We've got the start of our transformation on the tribe websites will start rolling out today. So we're making some pretty big changes to our entire web strategy. We're really combining a lot of our websites to kind of simplify things, minimize some of the logins, and just make everything easier to find. And the first step in that will happen sometime today. As we roll out those changes, you'll see them. Nothing major on your end right now. This will just be, you'll see some different navigation. Things will look a little different. At some point in the next several months, we will continue this transition and we'll start combining the websites. That'll happen over the next couple months. Let's Truck University will be merged in. All the courses will be available, and the two tribes will become one. So we're taking three websites down to one, and also a lot of the content that's on Let's Truck is not always easy to find. That will be migrated over to the new site as well. At some point, we will change the subscription model, again, to simplify it so you're not going to have multiple subscriptions. We will have a package that includes all of our courses at one subscription price, and we'll also include the tribe site and the premium subscription for the radio content going forward as well. So a lot going on. That's going to get started today. I see calls are just starting to come in, so keep them coming. 855-950-3835. I am also traveling again this weekend. I'll be working this weekend at a really kind of a medical conference. This one's a little different for me. This one is primarily targeted towards doctors, MDs. Most of the speakers are MDs. It's an anti-aging, but it is a functional medicine group. So really looking not so much for the information. There are a couple sessions I do want to sit through. There are actually a lot of sessions. It's all day. Actually, there's some things going on today. I'll get in later today. Tomorrow all day, Saturday all day, and Sunday most of the day. I'll also get a chance to meet Dr. Wolfson. We're going out to dinner tomorrow night, and he's got some other doctors I'll be meeting. So I'm really kind of going to this event more to do some networking and possibly find some more doctors we can refer out to when we get the true medical cases. So that was kind of a last-minute decision, but I think it'll be a good one. We'll see how that goes. It is snowing like crazy again here. I kind of like it. Normally, I don't really have to go out in it. Today, though, I got to go to the airport. I got up this morning at 3 o'clock, took Chelsea to the airport, and the first 20 miles was some of the worst driving conditions I've seen in a long time. I was the first one on the road. There weren't even any tracks on the highway, and it was just a pure whiteout. Couldn't see the road at all, couldn't see much in front of me. You just kind of aimed to stay between the guardrails was about the best you could do. And then, like it does often here, 20 miles west, and it was just pure rain. So I had heavy snow, then slush, then sleet, then some freezing rain, and then it finally just turned to rain in Portland. But it's still coming down here. This morning when I looked, we were supposed to get 2 or 3 inches. Looks like we might have about 6 already, and it's still coming down pretty heavy. So I think the electric snowblower is going to get a workout this winter. Normally, if we have this kind of weather this early, and this is kind of early for us, it probably means a lot of snow for the next month or so. Like I said, I like it most of the time. It's really pretty here. Most of the time, I don't have to go out in it. So what else do we have going on? Just a couple things I did want to mention. This is my last live show of the week, so I want to get a couple of these things in. One thing to be aware of for taxes this year, the IRS is really clamping down on the money people are starting to make on the internet, lots of different ways. This is actually part of the American Rescue Plan, that $1.9 trillion COVID relief bill. You know, they have to figure out how to pay for that stuff because the government doesn't have any money. That's us that has all the money. So now they're coming after you. They are requiring all of the internet platforms to start issuing 1099s. Now, the big change in the law here, most people weren't aware of this, but the rules for money you earned on the internet, you were actually allowed to make if you made less than $20,000 and conducted fewer than 200 transactions in a tax year, you were actually exempt from paying tax on those earnings. That's not the case anymore. They changed that. Now, the dollar figure is just $600, and there's no longer a minimum number of transactions. Now, when it comes to situations like Uber and Lyft and Instacart, where people are doing this, whether it's full-time or as a second job or a second income, that should be taxed. I mean, that is a business that should be taxed. I really don't have a problem with that. I was actually shocked that they did the $20,000 exemption up until now. But the other area that people are going to get stuck in and screwed on because they're not going to know is if you sell something now on Amazon Marketplace one time for the year. If you sell a couch or a TV or a lawnmower or whatever, a truck or a car on Amazon Marketplace or any of these other online marketplaces, you will now have to pay tax on that money. So that's going to get confusing for a lot of people, especially when it comes to vehicles and some of the weird rules about selling vehicles. But if you sell anything, people selling on Etsy. Etsy's big for people who make things at home like food items or craft items. Most people don't make a lot of money on Etsy, but now you will be required to pay tax on that. So just know, if you're doing anything online, that is now going to be tracked. The platforms are going to be required to report that income to the IRS. Another thing, we talked about this earlier this year, a while back, but it looks like it's getting worse. Law enforcement is warning people again about thieves stealing control modules in trucks. So the CPC module, it seems like there's a real shortage of those, and thieves are stealing them, and they're being sold for an awful lot of money on the black market. So be careful. Southern California seems to be the hot spot for this. They had a couple tips here, basically common sense stuff. Park in illuminated areas. park around surveillance cameras or with security, install an alarm system on your vehicle. When exiting your vehicle, roll up all windows, lock the doors, and ensure the keys are in your possession. Boy, do we really have to tell people that? This one confuses me a little bit. Enable password protection for the CPC. I don't know that these thieves will know that it's password protected, though. I'm not sure how much good this would do. They may not be able to use it after they steal it, but I have a feeling if they steal it off your vehicle and then find out that it's password protected, I'm pretty sure they're not bringing it back and reinstalling it for you. So I'm not really sure if that one makes any sense or not. So keep an eye out. Like I said, Southern California seems to be the hot spot for that. This is another one we've been talking about, and I really wish they weren't doing it, but they are. Starting January 1st, there's a new tax credit for alternative fuel infrastructures and commercial EVs and related items. 15% of the vehicle purchase price for plug-in hybrid EVs, 30% of the vehicle price for EVs and fuel cell EVs. The incremental cost of the vehicle compared to an equivalent internal combustion engine vehicle. Maximum credits may not exceed $7,500 for vehicles under 14,000 pounds, and you can get a tax credit up to $40,000 for vehicles above 14,000 pounds. That's just wrong. In my opinion, that is absolutely wrong. That is the government picking winners and losers. Most small fleets and owner-operators are not going to jump on the electric truck movement. There's way too much risk in it. There's way too many unknowns. It's one thing for a big company like Schneider to go order 100 trucks. If it goes horribly wrong, it's just a line item on their P&L. It's not going to put them out of business. But small fleets and owner-operators just can't take that much risk. But they're going to take your money and give it to companies like Schneider for taking these electric vehicles or putting in charging stations. Or this is what I've said is the worst part of this whole electric vehicle thing, is that it's not the free market. It is the government picking winners and losers, and they almost always tend to pick losers and give our money to them and waste it. It's just wrong, but it's happening. So keep in mind, elections really do have consequences. All right. This is starting to sound like a Kevin's commentary, so I think I'm going to get to the calls. They're starting to pile up. Keep them coming. Let's go to Oklahoma. Sarah, welcome to the program.
Good morning. On the electric vehicles, when we purchased a new truck years back, we had to start registering with CARB and tell them every year, yes, we have a vehicle that's compliant, and every year we have to certify that. So I got an email the other day from CARB inviting us to come to attend an online webinar, full day, on Move to Zero, how to change your entire fleet over to zero emissions, including infrastructure and something else. And I'm just like, oh. So anyway.
There's so much wrong with that. First off, I just think the government needs to stay out of this and stop giving our money to other companies or people that buy these things. That's not a free market. If these things are as good as they want us to believe, the free market will put them into service when it makes sense. We're going to screw this up, just like we have so many other times, because the government's involved. And again, they're taking our money to do this. But here's the other thing that is just so false and misleading. These vehicles are not zero emissions. It's not even close.
Well, you have to use something to produce the electricity to charge them.
Absolutely. We unless we were using pure solar or wind or water or some other form, which we're not, It's still a big part of this is coming from natural gas, a little bit from coal. These are not zero emission vehicles, and they need to stop saying that.
Yeah. What I really called about was hydration.
Okay.
The article that you posted yesterday, we had our phones taken from us for 5 hours. I missed the entire show yesterday. Do you think that emulsifying fat in with the coffee could affect how it hydrates or dehydrates a person's body?
I think there's still a lot about
Maybe the
hydration we don't know. Somebody posted something this morning, and I've had a really busy morning, so I didn't have time to follow it up, but I want to check later. Somebody posted some article that said milk hydrates faster than water. I don't know if that's true or not, and even if it is, I'm not sure that we should really put much focus on that. I've always thought of milk as a food, not really a beverage. I think it's closer to a food than it really is a beverage, and I don't think we should be looking at things like that for hydration. Let's just kind of focus on good, clean water. And I know we drink coffee, and I'm coming up with all these functional drinks. And I will tell you that when I'm testing this and I'm drinking sometimes 3 of these things a day, I know I test one in the morning, I'm working on a recipe for the afternoon and the evening. And then sometimes, I'll finish my night with a cup of, tea, chamomile tea or something like that. I am almost overhydrated most of the time now. So these types of drinks will hydrate you, but it's almost like we're making, and I think we always have, made too big of a deal about this whole hydration thing with all these formulas. And, just drink water, you'll be fine. I don't think we need to make that big of a deal about it. Maybe there's something more to it. I've never really read or seen anything. If you're asking, emulsifying the fat, does that change it? Well, if it does, then that may explain the milk thing. There's a lot of fat in milk. So maybe there is something about that in hydration.
Because remember you said sometimes when you have 2 cups of NBK coffee, you don't really feel dehydrated. So I was wondering if perhaps that emulsifying the fat and the collagen and all that other stuff in with the coffee kind of negates the dehydration effect. And I don't know.
Yeah, no, here's the other, I always talk about that formula where, if you drink something caffeinated, then you have to drink 1.5 times that in water. That never, ever made sense to me. I couldn't imagine that.
Isn't the caffeine coming in water?
What's that?
I said, isn't the caffeine coming in enough water?
That's kind of my point. Are you telling me because I drink 12 ounces of coffee, I'm now going to urinate out 18 ounces? I don't think that's what's happening. I don't see that happening at all. I don't see, and I do realize caffeine is a slight diuretic, but like you just said, we delivered it with water. Here's what they're saying, really. What if you just drank coffee all day? I mean, we've had a caller the last couple of weeks who was drinking 2 pots a day of coffee. Well, shouldn't he be completely dehydrated all the time then?
By that concept, you would think so.
Right. It doesn't even make sense. He wouldn't be able to drink enough water to overcome that much loss if that were truly happening. I just don't know where they came up with that crazy formula. Like I said, with all these functional drinks that I'm drinking all day long, and several of them have caffeine, I'm not drinking much water because I don't need to. I'm already taking in an awful lot of liquid every day.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the other thing we should probably pay a little more attention to is if somebody moves from a diet where they were eating a lot of plant foods, maybe a lot of vegetables, a little bit of fruit, and they go to a carnivore diet, you absolutely need to up your intake of liquids. We get a lot of our hydration
Because
from
they-
plant foods when we eat them.
Right. I just ate a cup of celery while I was there. Of course, you stole half of the pieces, but you get a lot of water in celery and cucumbers, and
A lot.
yeah, you got to think about that if you do cut vegetables out.
Yeah. Yeah, you figure that out if you ever try to dehydrate things like celery and cucumbers. They almost disappear when you dehydrate them. There's almost nothing left. They're mostly water. So if you were eating a lot of plant foods and you're moving towards a more carnivore animal-based diet, then you should up your fluid intake.
And I had one more thought. I wanted to actually say something to Eric. Is there any way to get ideas to him about the Garmin? Because what I had was there's a little line in the middle on the bottom of the screen that tells me the highway I'm on. Like right now, it says I-44. But also on the map, there's an icon of the highway that tells me what I'm on. And usually I know what highway I'm on. What would be more useful to me is the county that I'm in, because 99.9% of the time, I have no clue what county I'm in. And one thing that affects us like all day, every day, and especially in the summer and tornado season, is weather warnings are issued by county and almost never by highway.
That is a really good point. I like that, and that does make a lot more sense. We don't normally need to know what highway we're on. If we don't know what highway we're on, we're probably in more trouble than... Yeah, so you're right. That's a really good point.
They've covered that. There's an icon on the road. There's an icon on the road of the highway I'm on.
Right, yeah. So
I would like to know what county I'm in.
I like that idea. What I would do is submit that to our support team. Just support at Let's Truck, and we'll get it over to him. And Eric is always open to those kind of ideas, so we'll get it to him.
Okay, great. Thanks, and have a great time at the conference. Looking forward to learning new stuff through that.
Yep, we'll do. We'll get a full report. I'll probably hold off on that till Wednesday. I may record a commentary early next week. I did not do a single commentary this week. It's just been a weird week schedule-wise, and just weird mornings, so I haven't had time. I've got all kinds of notes. I just didn't get time to record them. Let's go to North Carolina. Steve, welcome to the program.
Morning, Kevin.
Good morning. What's on your mind today?
You there? Yeah. Okay, there we are. We get a little delay. Sorry about that. I should have went right on into it. Morning, head on into it. We got, we've got the 1099s at $600 coming up, but there was a little something wrong there. You could have up to 20,000 the previous year, say 19,000 in Venmo, if you ran a business. But if you're running a business, you had to pay tax on it. They just had no 1099 to track you. So it was basically on the honor system. And there were probably a lot of people that weren't paying taxes on that money. Any business we do have to pay the tax on. But there was no 1099 until you hit 20,000. That's
I thought that too, but both articles that I read, and I'm actually going to send this over to Travis, our accountant, and I'm also going to send it. That's
Travis,
what I thought.
Travis
but both of these articles specifically said if this was internet-based, under $20,000 and under 200 transactions, you did not have to pay tax on the money. And I thought, that's not the way I always understood this. I just thought they didn't report it.
Right. Okay. Now, I think what they're kind of talking about there, they should be distinguishing. My daughter is really good at selling things on Facebook, yard sale things and all, rather than rather than putting ads on Craigslist or anything, she goes through there and we'll give her things out of our house that we want sold. She'll sell them. It's not a taxable situation. But she has a whole lot more than 600. She'll get Venmo for that, but she'll have an explanation for it. She's at least keeping records on everything that she's selling. It's all household stuff. This is not a business. And so I'm thinking that they're talking about people like that, but they should make it more clear, because in this country, if you run a business and make any income, you do have to claim it. And with the internet now, I think they're confusing apples and oranges. There used to be a certain amount that you could go to in internet before you had to charge sales tax if you had a physical presence in that state. Like you don't have to charge me for sales tax because I'm in North Carolina and you're in Oregon, but Amazon has to on everybody, because they have places in every state. At one time, there was like a $20,000 limit before you had to pay sales tax, but I think that went away a while back. So like I say, I would run that by Travis, or our guy with Per Diem Plus.
Yeah, Mark Sullivan.
That we have.
Yeah, I'm going to run it by Mark too, because they not only it's not even confusing wording in there. Their wording was really clear. They used all the words that when I read it, I thought, I did not realize that was ever a tax law. So whoever wrote it, it isn't even like it's vague, or they were clear that they mentioned services like Uber and Lyft. And now I kind of
no. Uber and Lyft, you got to pay tax.
Yeah, and like I said, if that were the case and they were exempting that, they shouldn't. I mean, you should have to pay tax on that. It's almost like those two journalists have gone to our recent journalism schools, because they tell us lies all the time in news stories. Yeah.
So it sounds kind of like that. I mean, that they just just flat out missed the boat on it. But because there are a lot of people that can make a little money. But like I say, I think those kind of transactions are meant for, like my daughter. She'll probably do $2,000 or $3,000 a year selling things that she has or things we have. She's giving the money to us. It's not, if you're not getting more than you pay for it, she's no capital gain. If you bought something and sold it for more, you'd have to pay a gain on it. And it's a household item. Now she will probably get a 1099 from Venmo, and then I'll address it on her return. I may put a note in there that that she had household sales of yard sale things that she took Venmo for, and I may put a note in there preemptively. Of course, there again, hers is so easy, but that 1099 that Venmo will send to the government would flag to her return. So I definitely want to put something in there to let them know she does not run a business, and what it is. And if they come after somebody that small, I don't think they will. It's going to be enough easy ones out there. There's enough misclassification in trucking out here with all the 1099 employees, quote unquote, out here for them to go after and get bigger money. There's a lot there, but I really enjoyed Travis, by the way. For somebody that for what the last 50 years I've done my own tax returns, I'm getting into real estate investments right now, and I am going to. I'm the same way. I need some outside looks at my stuff going forward. So I was.
Yeah,
he's probably the best.
I've always told people, if you aren't complete, I love it when people do their own tax return when they know what they're doing. You clearly do. You've done yours for many years. You've done a lot of other people. But I've encouraged people, even owner-operators, if you're willing to do some reading and put the work in, I really think that for small businesses, learning how to do your own tax return is not a bad thing at all. I've even told people, look, go down and take H&R Block's course in the fall. Every year they run courses all over the country. Go take it. And they'll teach you the basics. And then with some reading and some research, you can usually figure out the other issues. But at a certain point, the opposite advice is good too. I've done thousands of tax returns in my time. I don't do mine anymore. I haven't done our tax return in probably 10 years.
No. Yeah. Well, getting into the resort real estate, summer rentals and all, that's going to be a totally different animal from what I'm used to. I'm used to our rules in trucking, as far as taxes go. But and I was just impressed enough with him. As a matter of fact, I am looking for I'm looking for maybe a 12 or 14-year-old son that's really tech savvy that I can put on the payroll to help with website design and some social media stuff, because they're a lot better than we are at that.
Absolutely.
So I'm their thing. And the Augusta rule, I had heard about that before. I really thought that was a scam, but he explained it to the point where it isn't. And I really thought that was. I really thought that was a scam. I looked at that as saying audit flag.
Yeah.
And but the thing is you've got everything in for 1 year in one file cabinet drawer. If they come and audit, what you need, what do you need, sir? You can hand it all to them. Like you said, they're going to go through a couple of months of your fuel receipts to make sure they add up to what you add. They're going to look to see whether you're doing good everyday accounting. And if they see that, they're going to see that there's nothing to be had here. I'm going to be wasting my time. They're going to move on. And so as long as you're good with your record keeping, doing your own taxes, it's not a big problem. It really isn't.
Yeah,
as long as you do the work to learn what you need.
Using the Augusta rule was probably the biggest break, I think, that he found for us that we weren't taking before. And for us, it's really, really easy to maximize it every year. All we have to do is have our employees come out, and we can keep them all here in the house. That's why we're building this thing as a bed and breakfast. And for the most part, we can get away with charging that off as a lot of money, because in the summertime, there's no place to stay in the gorge. Forget price.
Exactly.
You just can't find places to stay. Even Portland used to be really difficult to find a place, even in Portland. I would imagine with the reputation Portland's got over the last couple of years, it might be a little easier to find someplace there. But here out in the gorge, if you don't book months in advance, you can't get a place to stay out here in the summer.
No, yeah, that's true. And with with what you've got there, you can charge top dollar. Even if you have a board meeting with your wife and go over the monthly stuff, and you do that one day a month for 12 months, that's 12 of the 14 days. If you did that and charged $200, I don't think that would be $200 for each. I don't think that would be any problem whatsoever at home. That's those of us that are out here. Like I say, with the size of your place and bringing your crowd in, you could probably charge a couple of thousand for the day.
I was just going to say, we can justify $3,000 a night. If we have this place fully booked, we can justify $3,000 a night. That's about what it will bring in the summertime here.
Yeah, exactly. And at Augusta, some of them folks get $10,000 to $20,000 for the week.
Yeah.
So they're able to charge all of that off, because that's the market. That's when you got the richest people in the world coming in to watch a golf tournament. They don't want to stay in a hotel. They want to stay in your place. And so. Well, like I say, I was very impressed with him. Much. Like I say, I'm glad you kind of opened him up to the tribe. Let's put it that way. So,
here's
now,
what
I just hope they don't get so overwhelmed with tribe members I can't get in with him.
Yeah, here's the thing I absolutely love about Travis. There has never been an idea that I've asked him about that was ever too crazy. He's just open to whatever. I'll come up with all kinds of crazy ideas, and he'll go, well, let me think about that for a while. He never just says, oh, no, we can't do that. He's willing to push the limit. If I can come up with a reasonable argument, or he can, then he'll give it a shot. And that's exactly what I want. Don't cheat. I don't want to outright cheat ever. I like sleeping at night, and I don't want to have to worry about the IRS pointing at something that I just absolutely can't justify. It's just plain cheating. And people do that because it's easy. Let's just pad the numbers. Well, yeah, it's easy, but it's also really, really easy for the IRS to catch you doing that, and you have no justification whatsoever. And their penalties are big. Some penalties can be 100% when you're just outright cheating.
Yeah.
So, I never want to do that. The numbers are the numbers. I only use the numbers I can absolutely prove. But it's these other strategies that I'm wide open to, and Travis is as well. And he's really good at finding these kind of things.
Yeah, I know one that he would knock down very quickly, because I know you do. All these guys calling up, well, I got all these deadhead miles.
Oh yeah.
Okay. I mean, that was, like you say, there are some things that people come up with that are ridiculous, but like you said, anything that's legitimate that you can defend as your business, that's kind of it. And so he came up with a lot of good ideas, but the thing I liked about him is even when he was answering your questions on here, he didn't just blurt it out. He would think of, that's a good question. You're thinking for a couple of seconds, then exactly the way you want to put it, because he was putting it that way so his audience would not get the wrong idea about things. And that's what a lot of people do. They try to please the audience. They'll come out with the answer real quick. And I like that. Well, like I say, we like him a lot, but I did want to call about that. That I think people, I think a lot of, if people read that article, they may get in a little trouble. They may get in a little trouble about the, about the business part of it, because it is a business. They do have to do it. And I've got some people in my family that Uber, and they have to do it. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
Absolutely.
And Uber's, and they're actually sending 1099s on any amount.
I mean, we actually at one point several years ago, when this really started to grow, we talked about modifying our app, creating a second app for people who did gig economy work. And it was just one more project we didn't have time for, and we didn't want to get sidetracked on things. But we could have built them a really, really good mobile app to keep track of that kind of stuff. I'm sure somebody has. I'm sure there's some good apps out there for people doing that. But
well, most of those guys aren't. Most of them aren't having to pay any tax, because most of them, with what they earn, their actually mileage rate of business mileage rate takes care of just about all of their income. Only the ones that are smart, that work the clubs on Friday and Saturday night at 11 to 3, that can get high dollar because of things like that. They're the ones making money. There are not an awful lot of people making much money with Uber. Now their expenses are not 62 cents a mile, so they are making some money, but they're not showing any profit on their tax return. A lot of them aren't. It's pretty much a wash. For most of them, and but they are making a little money. Like I say, I want them folks to be there. I do not want to have to go back to taxi cabs.
Absolutely.
The government wants to get rid of them. So
I agree.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Steve,
Well, look, you have a very
update on that. I got to move along. Calls are starting to pile up. It is a free for all today. Anything goes. Pick up the phone and join me. 855-950-3835. We're off to Florida. Fred, welcome.
Hey, Kevin. Just want to shine a quick light on this $600 IRS scam. Now, we've been talking about the gig economy and selling things on these various sites. Let's just put it in plain English here. Let's just say you and Lisa, say Sarah and Vic, and me and my wife decide that we need a long weekend, and I use my connections in Vegas, and we get 4 days there for $600 for each couple. All right, so I pay for the tickets. We get down there. You Venmo me $600. Sarah Venmos me $600. I'm on liable for taxes on that if I can't prove that was just a personal transfer.
The article
I didn't sell anything. I didn't.
the article did address that, and they actually claimed that the payment transfer apps like Zelle is a big one. Zelle allows people to transfer money back and forth with their phone. They claimed that those were not going to be flagged.
Okay, I've heard a whole bunch of stories around this. That's why I say it that way.
But
that if you just transfer money over a dinner or something like that, or, you know, people have babysitters, kids that come in and they spend, you know, $200, maybe $300 a month, $500 a month. If it's over $600 a month, you got to have a record of why that $600 a month transfer happened.
I would just warn people that if you do money transfers like that often, I would keep records to make it easy to prove that that was just somebody reimbursing you for, like you said, you bought the tickets or you split a dinner or whatever it might be. Right. And again, they did address it in the article, said those types of payments were not going to be flagged. But it sounds like they got a lot of things wrong in this article. So I'm not sure I trust anything that's in there.
Yeah. Right. And, you know, the government has a way of making everything we do, you know, cost prohibitive for us. So I just don't trust any of that. I've never used this stuff, but I know one of my daughters uses, I think, Venmo or Zelle to pay someone for some, you know, babysitting services. And New York is expensive, so it's quite a bit of money, you know. And you know, the girl's a college girl, and you know, don't want her to get screwed up, and I don't want my daughter to get screwed up. So when I heard this last year, I heard it from Grover Norquist when he was talking about the this was for the Inflation Reduction Act, beginning of the year when they passed that, like $1.2 billion to raise inflation.
Right.
You know, this was in that bill, and it went in effect immediately, and it's for 2022. So I would really, you know, get together with your tax preparer people and find out the nuts and bolts of this, because it really can come back to bite someone in the rear end.
Yeah. They, you know, here's just to get a little political again. The tax law changes that Trump put in place in 2016, almost everything about those changes simplified things. It made it a lot easier for most people to do their tax return. We were actually getting close to the whole, you know, postcard tax return for some people. It would have been that easy. This wasn't even a tax bill. This was that stupid Rescue America, you know, we're going to print a bunch of money to try to tame inflation, which is totally bass-backwards. Right. But they threw a bunch of these tax rules in there because they have to figure out how to pay for this stuff. And they're coming after us because that's their only source of money. The problem is they're going after the people that are at the bottom of the pile. All of these rules affect people that are struggling just to make ends meet.
The way this is going to play out is that this is going to justify the $80 billion for the IRS, $87 billion for the IRS for the 87 or 80,000 new agents.
Exactly.
They're going to say, look at all these tax cheats.
Yeah.
You know, and they're going to justify this by you know, moms paying, you know, kids to babysit or, you know, or anything else. You know what I mean? But it's going to come down to the lower scale people.
Yeah.
I mean, the people that have the money have the wherewithal to do things, you know, pay people to make sure they don't do it wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so
and a lot of
this
people,
is not geared for them.
A lot of people are going to get caught up in this, not because they were trying to cheat or avoid paying taxes, just because it's overly complicated and they don't understand it.
Correct. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I think this Inflation Reduction Act might have been bipartisan. I think a handful of Republicans voted with that too, but
they did.
The waters are so muddy up there, I don't even know anymore. I mean, the newest one is there's a bunch of Republican senators, and a few of them are retiring. They're trying to to make an amnesty bill for these illegals coming across the border now. That's the latest one before the end of the year.
Unbelievable.
Yeah,
You know,
and this is that Richard Burr who got caught for stock fraud, and he's retiring from North Carolina, and Tom Tillis in Alabama. These are people that were supposed to be conservative, and they're doing this. There's a couple other ones too. I forget the names. They're doing it with Christian Cinema from Arizona, and she's a left liberal, but she's actually pretty center. But anyway, I don't want to go too far off into politics. I wanted to talk about incompetence and maybe doing your due diligence with people that you've had in your circle for years. You get complacent with. I just changed insurance brokers because of that same reason. Trying to get this tank operation off the ground and running into a couple of bumps as far as insurance and coverages and stuff like that, and putting, my agent, who pretty much just collects his commission every year because I don't have any claims, nothing really changes in my life. And, when you put them to task, they keep dropping the ball and then can't secure certain policies, don't know where to go to get certain policies. So it's been quite the task to research and find people on my own to get this done.
Yeah, I'll bet there's. So
go
ahead.
Yeah, I just it makes me just want to kind of do a PSA out there. I would I had this guy for years. He was a friend of mine from Long Island, and you try to give your friends a leg up, and people just get complacent, and I got complacent, and I'm sure he's gotten complacent because he has other people working underneath him now. And, just be mindful. Make sure these people are doing the job that they're supposed to be doing for everybody out there.
Good point.
And you don't need, when you need them in times are down, make sure that these people know how to do things in an expedited fashion. I don't expect things to be done yesterday, but I do expect when you put a request out and you verbally tell them what you need done and you send them paperwork on what, you need to sign on boarding for a brokerage or a carrier. They know how to do this and get it done. They get it done right away.
Yeah. Good point.
But other than that, it's been a crazy scene out here. Work-wise, flatbed rates have really, really fallen off the cliff compared to what they were. Now, they're still make money out there, but flatbed rates have fallen off the cliff. I see a lot of low twos and even high $1.80, $1.90 loads out there.
So overall, I just read something from Noel Perry this morning. Overall rates, we are dead on for the average rate. If you average the rates from going all the way back to 2007 up until like 19, early 20 prior to COVID, we are dead on that average right now. So if you were to average all those years, the rates for all those years, you look at the rates today, we are dead on that average. So the whole COVID effect is kind of gone from the rates now. We're kind of back to normal, and we're at an average rate. So if people can't survive at today's rate, then they're just not going to survive, period. It's far more likely that those rates are going to get worse before they ever get better again. So if people are struggling now, and we're seeing it, we're seeing companies go out of business and they're claiming fuel prices are too high and rates are too low. This is just the normal operating environment right now.
Right. So because I've been trying to pull what the 3 hairs left out of my head, staying home trying to get this off the ground. I said, I got to do something and get out of town for a couple of days just to clear my head. And so I posted this morning on the Truck and Drive, took a big piece out to Florida. Pretty cool piece, pretty interesting. It paid very well, plus it paid the permitting fees and stuff like that I needed. So it was a very good run for me. You just happened to find it searching a load board,
Yeah.
So,
yeah. There's still decent rates
and I'll be home tomorrow night.
Like I said, the rates are what they are right now, and these are pretty normal rates. And I'm seeing a lot of people complain that they can't make it. But we've been predicting this for a long time. How many times over the last 4 or 5 years have I said, we're going to have a big problem when people see what normal rates are? So many people that have gotten into the business in the last 10 years have never really seen any kind of a downturn.
Yeah, that's and you see it more and more. A lot of the customers I had that were weekly customers are gone because of the people that were ordering the products are either cut back or having their own struggle in this economy. And so, that's one of the reasons I was transitioning into chemicals is because I think that's not recession proof. I don't think anything's recession proof in a sense, maybe food, but the rates are legitimately, because of such a specialty, they are a lot higher. On the average.
Yeah, when you look at what kind of things are safer in a downturn, something like food, even though we have to have it, really isn't all that safe. The same amount of freight might be moving, but there's going to be a lot more trucks competing for it. And it's not all that hard to go out and grab a reefer if the rates go up there. So even though food and those kind of things are absolutely necessary, doesn't mean the rates are going to be all that great in a downturn. Now, what you just mentioned, your safest bet is something that's more specialized and harder to get into. Hauling cars. Yep. The number of cars being moved might go down, and rates will go down, but it can only go so low. So in those niche kind of markets that require special skills or special equipment, and they're harder to move into, very few people are going to say, oh, look, the dry van rates suck, let me go get a car hauler. That almost never happens. Right. But a flatbed or a reefer, not that big of a deal. Even tanker, that's more specialized. Not as many people are going to be willing to just jump into that. So I think it's those kind of specialty niches that require either special skills or special equipment that are safer in a downturn.
Yes. There's one of our tribe members kind of put me in touch with some people too, which was very nice of him. Go out of his way and take a chance. And I wanted to, if he's listening, I wanted to say thank you to him too. I already told him thank you, but wanted to. Good. Good. He, it's nice when you have people that will take a chance, go out of their way to help someone else.
It's part of the whole tribe. We see a lot of that going on. Yeah. We've seen relationships made over the years and people sharing things like this. We love to see that. It's just good for everybody.
Right. So, I don't know where it's going to lead, but it definitely is an avenue to hopefully explore and possibly, make some money on.
Excellent.
So anyway, but this Cardio Miracle. I got a quick story.
Okay.
You're going to love this. So Tuesday, I'm going out to load that big concrete beam I had, right? So my father-in-law calls me out of the blue, and we chat all the time. And, I said, what's going on? He says, well, I just got my blood work, and my doctor told me I got to stop taking that vitamin D. My vitamin D is off the charts, too high. So I said, okay. I said, so what is the number? So he says, I don't know, but I'm going to stop taking these drops. I said, well, listen, George, I said, let me ask you a question. I said, the advice I've been giving you, I said, how does it make you feel? Because he's lost 20 pounds, he's feeling good, and he's only made tweaked, and he's 83. So I don't expect him to be a health nut, but the minor tweaks he's done to his diet has really shown some big improvements in his life, right?
Right.
So he says, well, everything you've told me has worked out great. And I said, okay. I said, listen, I said, now the medical community, they feel that 30, the number on the chart at 30 is a high number, and they want you somewhere between, 18 and 30 on their scale. I said, from what I've read and what I've come to believe, you're better off being between 80 and 100 on the same scale. I said, which is high for the standard medical community. I said, everything I've told you has been working right now. Would you mind just finding out what your number is for me? I said, if you're over 100, I would agree with them. Let's cut it back and take a break. But let's see what the number is, Right. So he was kind of reluctant, and and said, I don't know, maybe I'll find out. Well, he called me 20 minutes later because he was probably curious.
Right.
It was 83.
Perfect.
It was 83.
Perfect.
So I said to him, I said, you are perfect. How many drops are you doing? He was doing 4. I cut him back to 3 because I gave him some Cardio Miracle.
Yeah.
I said, so why don't you go with 1? Why don't you go with 1 3 times a week for a little while and get tested again in a month or 2 and see where you are?
Yeah. Great advice. The idea that 30 is okay is just so wrong. 30 is really low. Nothing good happens when people have vitamin D levels around 30. The benefits all start kicking in, it seems to me, like past 50, and 80 to 100, there are no negative side effects whatsoever. Right.
And I told him, I said, this will help you deal with things like COVID. This will help you there's so much that vitamin D does for our body positively that you having this heightened, this elevated D from what, the doctor says, you're going to get so much more benefit than a standard 83-year-old that's just eating everything in sight. You don't even realize, I said to him.
Yeah.
I said, now you do what you want. You do what you want. I said, I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm just here to give you my opinion and my advice. So he's like, okay. I said, if you want, take 2 weeks off and start Christmas time. Start doing 1 drop every other day. Because he's still doing the Cardio Miracle, so he's still going to get D in his system.
Right. And we really have found that something in the Cardio Miracle, the combination of nutrients and minerals, something is helping our body either produce or hold the D better, because it doesn't make sense how much our level goes up when we start taking the Cardio Miracle. We've documented this with a lot of people now. If you look at the amount of vitamin D that's in there, it shouldn't really be raising our vitamin D levels nearly as much as it does. There's something in the Cardio Miracle that's making vitamin D work better in our body. So we do find that when you start the Cardio Miracle, a lot of times we do have to cut back the drops, not just because there's vitamin D in the Cardio Miracle, but because something else in there is making the whole vitamin D thing work better.
Well, I remember when you had John on, you were talking about that, and I did catch that, and that's why I told him when I sent him the Cardio Miracle, and I told him, I said, just, see how it goes, see how it makes you feel, take a couple of teaspoons a day in some water, and see how it goes for you. You know what I mean? And it's been going, he doesn't feel any difference, but he doesn't feel any bad effects either. So I said, good, shut up. On the Cardio Miracle, I got these individual packs. Now, do you know if one of these sleeves are just one dose, or is that what they recommend for the day?
No, the individual packets, that's one serving.
One serving. Okay, that's what I kind of thought.
Yeah, they're
all right, that's
really,
cool. And
really convenient. When I'm traveling today, so that's what I take with me, the individual sticks, because it's so much more convenient.
Right. Yeah, I like those. I threw them in the truck, and actually, because he got two big 90 whatever the 90 servings, I asked him if I can have those individual packs, if he could send them back with my wife when she comes home. He said no problem. So at least I'll have a couple of packs in the truck without having that big thing bouncing around in here. One other question, and you may or may not know the answer to this. When you do all this incorporating with the sites, I do like the way the Healthy Tribe and the Trucking Tribe is separate as far as postings go. This way, people who just want to learn about, health can just learn about health, and people that want to learn about adjusting an overhead can adjust an overhead. Are they still going to be separate on when you go into the one app, or are they going to be all kind of like a news feed like Facebook?
Well, it can be like that. So here's how it will work. There will be a main news feed, but you will have total control over what you want to see there based on which spaces you join. So they'll all be there, but you don't have to see it. You don't have to see anything in your feed you don't want to see. You'll have a couple options. One, there will be a health feed only. So if you just want to go in there to see the health-related stuff, there will be trucking feeds only. But there's also going to be a main feed that you kind of control what shows up there. So there's a lot more flexibility in the new version.
Okay. I was hoping for something to that effect, where you can kind of general post, and then if you wanted to be specialized and help someone or whatever, or go in just to comment on something, that's good. I'm sure it's going to be good. I mean, Aaron takes his time, and you guys put out a pretty good product, from what I can see so far.
Yeah,
I'm not the biggest tech savvy guy in the world.
Yeah, I just noticed because they're rolling this out over the next 72 hours. We'll be rolling out these changes. I did see that Trucking Tribe has already been converted. Healthy Tribe hasn't yet. So you can kind of see the difference between the two right now. And Trucking Tribe right now is kind of a mess. Some of the changes we weren't able to make until we flipped the switch. So Aaron's probably in there already trying to start cleaning up the navigation. So for a couple days, it's going to look a little wonky. The same thing with Healthy Tribe. The first order of business is kind of getting it cleaned up a little bit, and then we'll start working on some of the bigger changes and moving towards that day when we combine the two. Actually, 3, because we're also going to be combining Let's Truck University. All the courses will now be in the Tribe site.
Nice. Right. Now the courses that people have already purchased, they'll still be able to access those.
We are going to make sure. We have to figure out how exactly we do that. We have a couple. We're really hoping we can shut down Let's Truck University because, one, it's one less login for people. Right. It's one less site for us to maintain. It's one less site. We have cost to all of these sites. So by combining them, we're also lowering our cost. But we've committed to, if we have to keep that site up and running to make sure people have access, we will do that. We may have to renew all of our licenses on that site for another year. And if we have to, we will. We're really trying not to. I hate to spend the money if I don't have to, but we will make sure that anybody who's paid for access will always have access to their courses. And it may be that, if if we can figure it all out, that we just shut down that site and, we give people some sort of a bonus. We'll give them access to more courses or whatever, but we'll make sure that nobody feels like they got cheated out of anything. Gotcha.
Another thing I would hopefully maybe suggest is you have some of your guests and some of the tribe, like Mark just put out, he's going to be doing a podcast, on taxes and navigating through that world. Possibly, having that like Kevin's commentary on your mobile app. Yep. Where you can, maybe catch Mark or Dr. Wolfson or, someone to that effect.
Yeah, that's already in the works. A couple possibilities. One, we will continue to create new shows. We may even go look for, host or talent or somebody that wants to do a show. And, we have the infrastructure so we can make it easy. But we will also probably go out and find other good podcasts, like Mark's would be ideal, and just have them in our network as well.
Excellent. Yeah, I'm sure it's always you're one that always think of new things to do and enhance what you've already done. So, which is excellent. I always enjoy everything I've done that you've put out there. So it's all good.
Well, we certainly appreciate the support. All right, we are going to keep moving today. The calls are piling up. I thought I was going to be, and I've got to get to the airport, but it's later today. I thought I was going to be out there clearing the driveways, but Lisa decided she wanted to play with the new snowblower, so she's actually doing it. Let's get to some more calls. Let's go to Arizona. Patrick, welcome to the program.
Hi, Kevin. I got a question about the biodiesel in California, but before I say that, I want to say I've been a carnivore 100% for over a year now, and I couldn't be I'm in the best shape ever, and I appreciate it.
Outstanding.
So the question I've got about the biodiesel is I'm very new to the owner-operator world. I have not done a IFTA taxes yet, but I have paid attention to what everybody says about the before tax price. And I have done most of my driving in Arizona, but I got the surprise that I was going to California this last week and figured I was going to have to fuel up in Arizona just to avoid the high prices over in California. But I was kind of surprised that it was cheaper in California.
Because
kind of should have known that there would be a catch.
Because the fuel tax is so high.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and but what caught me by surprise was when I got over there, they're really proud of their 20% biodiesel. I didn't think about that, and it kind of worried me. I don't want to be putting anything bad in my truck, so I didn't know what to do. I bought just enough to get back to Arizona, but I hated giving up that price. But I just don't trust anything that California does. What's your opinion on their diesel?
So in the very beginning of biodiesel, and that goes way back now, we did see some quality issues, some filters clogging. It was primarily in the colder weather we started seeing the problems in the more northern states. I really haven't heard of many of those problems lately, though. I mean, there's an awful lot of biodiesel out there, and yet we don't really seem to see a lot of problems with it. Biodiesel in the beginning, I would say that it seems to be very inconsistent. There's multiple ways of making biodiesel. It can be made from different things, and the consistency didn't seem to be there. But I think they've improved that a lot over the years. I really don't get any calls with people complaining about biodiesel anymore.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. That's where I come from, is hauling fuel, and I haul for a smaller chain, and the most we ever hauled was 5% biodiesel. So
Yeah,
that's what I got
20
used
was-
to. And when I saw that 20%, I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, in the beginning, it was the B20 we were seeing more of the problems with. And again, it tended to be in the colder states when it got, below zero. We were seeing filters clog. But I just have not heard much about that. Now, I think what you did is a good idea. You don't, if you've never used biodiesel in your truck before, the first time you use it, I might go a little easy. I might not, totally fill it up. I might put some in and see how it runs and leave a little room in the tank in case I need to dilute it, or just, a couple test runs to see how well it performs in your truck and pay attention. But I just really don't get the kind of complaints I used to.
Okay. Good to know. I appreciate it, Kevin. That's all I had for you.
You're welcome. Thanks for the call. Let's go to Minnesota. John, welcome to the program.
Hi, Kevin. You talking about the ECUs in your open started me thinking about catalytic converters and getting stolen
Oh, yeah.
around this area. Actually, Minneapolis, St. Paul, and some of the bigger cities, the police department will actually crawl under your vehicle and mark your catalytic converter. So all the salvage yards know that if one comes in that's spray painted like that, not to take it and to actually record, and the PD will come around and prosecute for stealing the catalytic converter.
Huh. Interesting. I'm sure you will still get plenty of less than honest people out there that will still buy them and find a way to move them through the system, just like everything else, pawn shops or, there's all kinds of people that will still handle that guy. Clearly, it makes it more difficult, and it's law enforcement's way of doing something.
Oh, yeah.
And it probably helps. Like I said, the one thing that I found interesting in that article was their recommendation was to password protect your the control module, which I know you can do. I used to do it to make sure my drivers didn't turn the truck up to 100 miles an hour. But I don't see how that helps to stop somebody from stealing it. How do they know it's password protected?
That'd be true. I don't know, maybe putting a sticker or something on it that would let them know.
Now, that's a good idea.
Also,
They should have recommended that in the article. Put a password on it and then put a big, fluorescent sticker on it that says it's password protected.
yeah, and, even with a TDE or DOT or something like that.
Then I just wonder, how hard would it be for the people who are stealing these things to figure out how to break the password anyway? I don't think it's all that difficult to disable a password on one.
Yeah, it's true. And I just thought of them getting stolen and what the local PDs are doing up around my area.
Well, we may see more stuff like that with these
would help.
With these control modules. I should remember, maybe I'll just send Leroy a message and ask him if you stole a control module, how hard is it to disable the password if you had to?
Yeah, that would be true. And just another ways of trying to make sure that your truck is safe. So,
yep.
Thank you very much for taking my idea back to basics. It really has evolved past what I would think it would be. So
yeah, that's a good segment. We're going to continue to do more of that. I think I learn every time we do it. Let's go to Idaho. This is the last call I have on the board. And I will probably wrap it up here if I don't get calls. I've got a lot going on today. It's still snowing like crazy. I have to get to the airport later today. So we'll wrap it up if we don't get any more calls. If you want to squeeze in, now would be the time. 855-950-3835. We're off to Idaho. Andrew, welcome to the program.
Hey, Kevin. Thanks for taking my call. I appreciate it. So I've got a ton of questions, but I'm pretty sure you can direct me in the right spot to answer them. I think a few weeks ago you had someone from an insurance company on your show, and I was looking to get that person's information if I could. I just got my DOT authority, and I'm trying to get active, and insurance is my last step. I'm getting the runaround from different brokers or agents, and the quotes are all over the place. So I'm just looking to hone in my skills on what I actually need.
Okay. Send a message to support at Let's Truck. Put attention my name so they get it over to me, and then I will forward you that agency's information. One thing I would take, out of this call, you said your last step is insurance. I tell people it should be your first step. And it's not easy. If you try calling and getting quotes and you don't have your authority yet, sometimes they'll give you the runaround, but it's a good idea to go check into insurance. Is one of the things that gets even more complicated in trucking, because it's the insurance rules and regulations are dictated at the state level, and the states are wildly different. You could take somebody with the same experience, the same truck, the same everything, and the rate could be double because of the state they're in. Then there are issues with certain things on your driving record. And I've had people go through this whole process and then find out they either can't get insurance or they can't afford it.
Right. No, I did do that. I did get the quote. I've been listening to you for years. I did get the quote first. But then, coming into it, my thought is that I would do power only. I'm working with truckstop.com. I have HEBS. I've been in this for 10 years. I've just been leased to a carrier.
Right.
And now I'm trying to take some of my trucks and get my own authority and operate it so I can walk away from the leased carrier altogether. But so I just, it like you said, there's so much in the details of it that they don't really seem to know what I should be paying, or like the type of insurance I should get if I'm going power only for, say, like the first 6 months, so I can get past that receivables issue in the beginning that most people have.
Right.
Bank up some money and then start looking into more of a niche of what type of trailers I feel most comfortable with and whatnot under my own authority.
Yeah.
Versus being with the lease carriers. I've got a ton of quotes, and they're all relatively close. They're between $10,000 and $16,000 a year. But I want to make sure that I'm covered when I do a power only. And if I don't own a trailer, I don't know if I should have non-owned trailer or just, this thing called trailer interchange. There's like a bunch of stuff. I just want to make sure the cargo and the trailer itself is covered as well. But I have all the quotes for sure.
Good. Okay. Yeah, this is where, you want to find a specific agent that you work with, not just a big company where every time you call, you get somebody different. This is a place, especially when you're moving out to your own authority like this, you want that personal relationship with somebody that you trust, that when you ask them a question, you get the right answers.
Yeah, that was actually another question I was going to have for you. Does it matter when I call this broker or agent? Does it matter how big their operation is? Because I got one of them that's just a solo operator. He's got an office, but he works from home most of the time. He's got a decent quote.
A lot of times I prefer those guys.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I really like small independent people in just about every case. So yeah, if I can find an agent, I don't care if he works from home. All that means to me is his costs are a whole lot lower, and he's probably going to be more reasonable. And typically, really small businesses like that just work harder. I mean, they just understand that every client is important, and they usually work hard for them, or they won't be in business long.
Yeah, I was just curious because he's quoting for Progressive Commercial, so I assumed that he's just helping me get it set up, and then once they've got the money, that if I had an issue later on down the road or general questions, that I would have to deal with
No,
Progressive.
I would ask him. Most of the time, the agent that writes the policy is the agent that will service the policy.
Okay. Yeah, see, that was one of the things I wasn't sure about. That helps a lot. Hey, another quick question for you. This drug and alcohol consortium, they make it seem like it's required, but they've let me go through the entire process of getting legal without requiring it. Do you know what the repercussions are on not going forward with the drug and alcohol consortium?
You know,
and running?
this is a compliance question, and I don't. I don't know that a
figured you would say that.
consortium is required because you are allowed to set up your own program. But if you don't join a consortium and you don't set up your own program, then yes, you would be in violation, and I'm sure there's some sort of penalty or fine. So I think part of the problem with trying to set up your own is that, and I am talking off the top of my head here, it's compliance. I tell people don't put much faith into my answer. Just pretend we're sitting at the liar's counter, and you don't even know who I am. Don't put a whole lot of credibility in my answer. But I have a feeling that it's next to impossible to run your own program because of the way the numbers work. Like you have to choose so many drug tests a quarter, I believe. And if you're the only one in the group, that means you would have to test a lot. Whereas if you go into a group, then that group is required to do so many tests a quarter, and you may not get any for a year or more. It's kind of the luck of the draw. And if you tried to run a really small group, you're going to be tested a lot.
Right. No, that makes sense. Okay. Another question about fuel cards, if you don't mind. In the past, you've spoken about NASDAQ.
Right.
When I compare discounts, Comdata seems to be the largest discount at all the major truck stops.
Okay.
However, I've noticed over the last 10 the mom and pops across the street from the major truck stops, which is where I go now because I get like really good discounts, at least to the company I'm with. But the mom and pops are typically cheaper by a lot. And so Comdata being like their discounts of 25 cents off are going to be at those bigger truck stops. What's your thought on getting a fuel card and or just cash flowing the fuel expenses like on a credit card where you get cash back?
I'd like to keep lots of options open. Depending on some of the terms, you might have 2 fuel cards and also use a credit card when it makes sense. And sometimes, have enough cash handy that if there's some, reason to use cash. So I don't like to just look at this as I have one solution for fuel. I would have multiple solutions. Mm-hmm. NASDAQ is still a very strong recommendation for me because it's a company they're actually an association, but that I think they're just a great resource for a lot of things. So if you have their fuel card, and they have a great drug consortium program, and they're really, I think, the best resource out there for somebody with their own authority, very small with their own authority. That's kind of the whole infrastructure that they've built. So when it comes to the fuel card, don't lock yourself into one option, but I would make NASDAQ one of the options you have. And it's possible that you have Comdata for the bigger stops when that's the best deal. And maybe NASDAQ is where you get your better discounts on the small ones. And then you also carry a credit card when you want to do that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that makes sense. I appreciate that information. Two more quick questions. I know you got to go soon, but I've been away from your show for a while now since found out Sirius XM. Do you have any knowledge or recommendations as far as e-logs go?
None. Zero.
None. Okay. That's
in the beginning, I told people you might as well just grab one and get started because this industry is going to be a mess for a couple of years. And it really was. Right in the beginning, the first 6 months, a couple of them went out of business pretty quickly. There's been a little bit of consolidation going on. I basically said, there's a good chance whatever you pick in the beginning, you might end up changing in the next year or two anyway. This industry's brand new. It's going to change a lot. And I kind of figured that over time, I would start to get feedback from people, and I really don't. Nobody seems to really complain much about their ELD provider or brag much about them. It just seems to be something that you just have to have, other than the people who started with one and they went out of business. And I knew that was going to happen. There was no way to avoid that. But we can certainly throw it out there. Maybe people will call and start to give us some feedback, but I haven't gotten much feedback on this.
Yeah. Samsara is the one, based on my research, that I think I'm going to land with. Samsara, something like that. Next question. I know how you feel about this in the past, but again, I've been away from the show for a while. What is your opinion on going under your own authority, leaving a major carrier right now with 2 trucks that are million-plus mile trucks but paid for? What's your thoughts on that?
Based on everything I've heard from you and the way you're doing this and how and why, and I think honestly your timing is perfect. And you don't need to be in a big hurry, but you could certainly just keep moving steadily, which is what you're doing. I think you're in a good position to do this. And I've always said, I think that when you take the time to build a model or make a big change like this in a downturn, it's the best time to do it. If you've run the numbers, you figured out, look, I can make it. I can, these rates are okay. If they drop another 20%, I'll still be all right. There are lots of people out there that did the opposite. They jumped in because the rates were crazy and freight was everywhere, and they are all struggling now. So I think your timing is just about as good as it could be.
Yeah, it seems like about $1.50, $1.60 a mile would be like probably bottom, where I'm starting to, hurt a little bit. I don't know if it's going to go that low.
Some freight is going to go that low, but I don't think there's any reason why you have to move freight that low. I think, based on what I'm hearing from you, I can tell you're doing this right. The people who are struggling because they got in at the top, those are the ones that are going to end up running that dirt cheap freight. That's just how it always happens. They won't build the relationships. They won't understand the rates and lanes. They'll continue trying to chase the rate, with a different broker every load. And they are the ones that typically get stuck with that horrible freight because they're just not doing anything right. They got in for the wrong reasons. They got in at the wrong time. They got in with the wrong truck. They haven't been doing the things we talk about here all the time. That's why these big downturns, when I talk to people like you, they don't really scare me. I see these as more opportunities than anything. The last 3 years, everybody was making money. You couldn't help but make money.
Yeah, and in the downturn, a lot of people drop out, which changes that supply and demand.
Absolutely.
So if you're prepared for it, you can grab that.
Yep. And then, it forces you to be better. When the rates drop and freight gets tight, it just forces you to get better. And as long as you're doing the right things, you're tracking your numbers so you see the trends, then you'll figure out a way to get through this. And when you do, that kind of makes your business bulletproof. I mean, our cycles, our economic cycles seem to be getting longer. We had over a decade this time of good, solid rates, and we'll go through this downturn, and my hope is we have another good long run, and you'll position yourself to take advantage of that.
Right. Yeah, no, I'm excited about it, but super nervous, obviously.
Yeah.
But you had a you have a software. I used your fuel app, and but you have another one that's more like bookkeeping and accounting and stuff. What is that one called?
That's profit gauges. So you're using fuel gauges, and profit gauges is the full accounting, and they do work together. I mean, you can sync up your fuel purchases if you want, or you can turn off the syncing and enter them into the accounting manually. You've got a couple options, but they do work together.
Okay. Yeah, I'm definitely going to use that. Doesn't make any sense not to. It's basically the same thing as like QuickBooks, right? But tailored for trucking industry.
It's like QuickBooks, but way better. It is so much easier. It's so much cleaner. And honestly, there is no way to hack QuickBooks to get a cost per mile. Can't be done. The only way to get cost per mile out of QuickBooks, you actually have to export your reports in a spreadsheet format and then build the calculations for cost per mile in the spreadsheet yourself. Whereas ours, the data entry is so much easier, and cost per mile is just built right in. You don't have to do anything.
Yeah, I'm not the tech savvy guy, even though I am a millennial. But yeah, that's why I like to just plug the numbers in, like your fuel gauges, and it just makes it simple. So if I had to do all that stuff with QuickBooks, it'd be a no-go.
Well, and that's really how and why I developed profit gauges. I mean, I had used QuickBooks for my trucks for years and years. Not only did I use it for my trucks, I used QuickBooks for all of our accounting clients. We had separate accounts for everybody, but we used QuickBooks for years and years, and it was so labor intensive. It's a great software. I mean, we still use QuickBooks today for our business. I've used QuickBooks since the time it came out in like 1989 or 90 is when QuickBooks came out. I've been using it every day ever since. But on my trucks, because of the cost per mile thing, it was just too much work. And I wrote profit gauges based on what I wished QuickBooks would be and what it would do. So there's a lot of QuickBooks influence in the program. It's so much better.
Well, that's perfect. You found a problem and you solved it. So that's exactly what business is, right? So, hey, I could talk to you all day, but so general questions out of the way. I'm pretty knowledgeable, but based on the call, is there anything that you felt I should have asked that I didn't, that you might just throw my way?
Nothing came to mind while you were talking, and even thinking about it now, it sounds to me like you've got a really solid plan here and you're just working your way through it. I'm really not hearing anything, certainly nothing major. It sounds like you've got all that taken care of. I think you're on the right track. Just keep doing what you're doing. Again, you don't have to be in a big hurry. And it doesn't sound like you are. It sounds like you're really taking your time and you're doing this right. So now I have a question for you.
Sure.
So you said you haven't really been listening much since we were off Sirius. How'd you find us again?
I got your email, and then I downloaded your Let's Truck app. So I tune in every now and then. Currently, I train new drivers, new CDL holders for a mega carrier as an owner operator, and I just get really busy. And it's I drive nights, and I try not to touch the phone. And I know it's no excuse. I could have been listening this whole time, but just as well as I do. If I listen every single day, at some point it becomes repetitive.
Absolutely.
So I figured, let's focus on something and then come back to it. And so it's just shifting focus is all it was.
Got it. All right. Good stuff. Well, I want to hear from you more often.
I buy. Yeah, for sure. You and I actually had a call back when you were still on Sirius. I think it was 3 years ago. And I sent you an email with a breakdown of a business idea of doing a course for budgeting on an irregular income. It's sad to say, but I'm glad you say it all the time that you have tabled projects everywhere. And that's pretty much one for me. I've got the course done. with the exception of one segment of it. And I mean, it's probably an hour or two of work. It's not the fun part of it, right? And it's, like I said, I just been busy. So it's tabled. It's there. It exists. I'd love to shoot it over to you, and you can take a look at it if you want.
Absolutely. And here's, one of the things we were able to do in our university, and I have to see if we've got this functionality when we move it over. We had the ability to put other authors' courses in our university and then do a revenue sharing. And we're always looking for good content. So, send that over, and I'll check to see if we have the ability to do that in the new infrastructure or not. Because that would be an excellent course. I always send people now on any kind of budgeting issues to Dave Ramsey, and he does a great job. But a lot of his material doesn't cover deep enough into when your revenue is so irregular.
Yeah. No, I started with Dave Ramsey. That's how I got debt free. The only payment I have is the mortgage, but I can shoot it over to you. Just like I said, I'm busy. I got 3 kids and a wife, and so it'd be a slow back and forth if we move forward with it.
No problem.
So, all right, Kevin, I appreciate your time today. Thank you so much, and have a great day on purpose, brother. I appreciate you.
You're welcome. Thanks for the call. Let's go to Ohio. Paul, welcome to the program.
Howdy. I got to add a couple of things now.
Okay.
If you're going westbound on I-80 in Ohio, and you failed to fix any defects in your truck after you did your pre-trip inspection, the Hubbard Way Station will give you an orange sticker so you can park there for a long time. They are very busy today.
All right.
And, they're putting guys out of service. And they're doing lots of inspections. So they have plenty of people there to help you with your pre-trip if you don't know how to do it.
There you go.
You can turn it into a learning experience.
Right.
The ComData fuel card. I'm leased to a carrier, and we have ComData fuel card. I bought fuel in Breezewood, Pennsylvania the other night, Monday night. The pump price was $5.99.9, and I got it for $4.49.
Wow.
Which is a pretty good discount.
Sure is.
And then, and the ELD, we use Motive, which used to be the Keep Trucking, and they've just made a few changes in the last couple of weeks, but it's still simple to use, and it's reliable, and
Good.
only one time it gave me problems, and I think we've been on it for like 3 years now. So, and the problem was partly something that I did. So,
Got it.
So I went to Pennsylvania to go to our favorite repair shop. So while I was there, I was busy looking at truck prices to kill time.
Yeah.
Some people got to be out of their mind. 389 Peterbilt for $259,000.
I know. I have seen such ridiculous prices. The crazy part is people are buying them.
Yeah. And there was even a new Volvo like Joel's, pretty much like Joel's. I don't think it was a 6x4 though, I think. And it was $225. I nearly fell over backwards. Yeah.
Yeah, crazy.
So trucks are not as cheap as they used to be.
No.
So, yeah. So I might just have to buy my next one piece at a time. So
yeah, there you go.
I'll buy a new trailer. Yeah, so that might be my next plan of attack. But Pittsburgh Power were very busy yesterday afternoon. I've not seen that many drivers in that waiting room. It was standing room only, just about there at one stage. So
yeah,
they're keeping busy.
There you go.
So, That's all I got today.
That's all I need. Thanks for the call. Let's go to Texas. Dwight, welcome to the program.
Hey, good morning. Well, I have had a good 2022, and so therefore, the IRS is going to take a big bite out of me. They did last year, and it's going to be double this year. So I've got to try to come up with some kind of plan. And my tax guy hadn't been a whole lot of help. I went and found a man-wife team that has that top designation that you recommend, and But anyway, I've got to do something to try to help myself for taxes, and I've got a short time to do it. I thought about going and buying a trailer or buy something for my farm. But the tax guy tells me if I buy something for my farm, it's not going to help me because that's not where my income's coming from.
Well, so first off, I want to approach this a couple different ways. One, I'm not a fan of buying something when my only incentive to buy it is taxes. If the only reason I decided to go buy something is taxes, then I shouldn't go buy it. Keep the money in your pocket and give the IRS their 30%. I mean, here's the difference. I'll just explain this with really easy numbers. You've got $1,000 in your hand right now, and you have two choices. You could just keep the $1,000, and the IRS is going to get roughly $300 of it, and you still have $700 in your pocket to do whatever you want with. Or you could Venmo me that $1,000 right now for consulting services, totally legitimate deduction, and I get the $1,000 and you don't have to pay any tax. I'll pay the $300 to the IRS. Who's really better off here? I am. I still have $700.
Well, I can have
nothing. Now, if you truly needed the service that I was offering and it was of value to you, then that makes sense. But if you're just saying, look, I'm tired of paying so much tax, I'm going to go buy something, that never makes sense to me. Just pay the tax and keep the rest of the money.
Well, I'd rather have a new trailer. I'd rather have a new trailer or a new tractor that I can use. Now, the trailer would not benefit me. The trailer I'm talking about, because I do mainly drop and hook. I'm leased to a big carrier. I do drop and hook.
Let's take a step back again. If you say I'd rather, well, then it's your business. I mean, go do it. But the other way to look at it is, does this really add to my bottom line or does it take away from my bottom line? I can show many times where you go buy a new tractor, a new trailer, you will have less profit at the end of that year than if you didn't go buy that.
Well, I do. I can. The trailer I'm talking about would allow me to do some side business. Away from
so
trucking.
Again, it's a math problem. Will that side business generate enough profit, not revenue, enough profit to make this make sense? And if it does, then, well, sure, go buy it. But if the only real reason to buy something is to lower tax, I'd rather just pay the tax and keep the money.
Yeah.
Now, so that's my approach. Now, when he says buying something for your farm isn't going to help because that's not where your revenue is, that's not a completely accurate statement. If I have one business that's really profitable, but let's say I do need a new piece of farm equipment, or it would really make sense for me to go get one. Well, that loss, if buying that equipment creates a loss on my farm, that loss offsets the revenue from the other business. So I'm not understanding what he's saying.
Well, that's my thought, and I'm thinking about switching tax guys coming up, which is kind of brings me to another deal. On my fuel surcharge, I get a fuel surcharge, and how should that be handled on my taxes? Should it be
It shouldn't be handled. It should be ignored. It's just revenue. It's revenue like any other revenue. There's no reason to even think about handling it any different. It's just revenue.
Okay, so it comes out on the 1099. That is revenue. That's not an expense.
Absolutely, it's revenue.
Fuel.
Somebody is paying you that money. That's the definition of revenue.
Okay. All righty. Well, like I say, I have luckily, like you, I've made some choices, and I've done a hard work for a couple of years. I'm now on a dedicated run, making great money, over double what everybody else is making, and
excellent.
So I'm doing that. I've got a good relationship. I've done over 98% of all my loads this year with the same broker, same
Excellent.
load.
Excellent.
So, and they're telling me I've got 9 more months on this contract.
That's fantastic. And the only downside to being really successful is you have to pay a lot of tax. And there are a few ways around it, but not that many. You're going to pay a lot of tax when you make a lot of money. It's just how it goes. But having a good tax preparer and making sure you're really taking advantage of everything you can is important. But no matter how much you do that, if you're successful, you're just going to pay a lot of tax.
Well, let me throw this out there. Okay, I'm driving a paid-for truck. I bought it because it was cheap. If you get right down to it, everything's wrong about it. It is aerodynamic. It's a Volvo, but it's got 373 rear ends. My fuel economy is terrible. It's a mid-roof. It'd be nice to be a condo pulling these vans. I don't know. It's maybe a half mile per gallon, but the truck's older. It is a 1 million mile truck now. Does have a new, actually out of frame on it. So so the motor's pretty solid right now. The truck's starting to fall apart, but I just can't get any fuel mileage out of it yet. But I'm gonna work on that. But so the truck's paid for, and but boy, I'll tell you what, I don't know that I'm not ready to jump out there and buy a brand new truck right now.
No, this was not the market to be buying new trucks. They're so overpriced. They were hard to get. You had to wait a long time. There's as much as I like to be able to absolutely control the specs and order everything exactly the way I want it. There were many times when I was buying trucks that I would just go try to find a truck that was around a year or so old or less. Those sometimes are your absolute best value. If you can get the basic specs right, I can modify other things, but finding that truck that big initial depreciation hit has already occurred is usually the best value.
Right.
But this is a more complicated calculation. I mean, if we really want to know if this makes sense, we have to take into account total cost of ownership. What is this current truck costing us in fuel? What's it costing us in maintenance and insurance? Those are kind of the three big variables. Then you have to predict. If I go buy a newer truck, doesn't have to be brand new, newer, or just a different truck, let's say, can I lower the overall cost? And the things I can look at is, what am I going to pay to get this truck? What is the possible fuel economy? What are the likely maintenance costs? How much more on insurance? And then one more factor, I do get a tax break because I went and bought something new. I can depreciate this. So that's a fairly complicated calculation, and we have to do a lot of guessing. We don't have all the answers. We have to speculate on some of them. But that's really what we would look at. I don't care if your truck has 3 million miles on it. It may still make sense to keep it.
Well, the motor now has 100,000 miles on it, so the motor's fine. And I I won't get to do it this year, but I'm thinking seriously, even the transmission and rear end, because it's got a 10-speed. So,
well, again, I wouldn't do those things till they were necessary. Don't do that. And I'm going to cut you loose. I got to get to a bunch of calls here, and we're coming up on rolling toe here. Let's go to South Carolina. Terrence, welcome.
How's it going? I got a question about the elixir you were talking about yesterday. But here's what my regimen is as far as the adaptogens as now. When I do my coffee in the morning, I use the cacao mix with the peptides in it. I forget which one it is. Okay. So I do that like my regular cups of coffee. I just put one of them in.
Yeah.
And then now I started doing the reishi at night. Now yesterday after I hung up with you started saying what you mix. You mix an elixir. Now is that a four-sigmatic elixir, or the specific one with reishi in it?
Yeah, well, there is a four-sigmatic elixir that's primarily reishi. I think it has some holy basil in it, and maybe some ashwagandha. I've looked at so many of their products now. I get some of them confused, but it is an elixir. It's primarily reishi, and you could mix that right into your coffee. And it's got quite a bit of reishi in it.
I was talking about the thing. Yeah, so one at night. You were saying a mix.
Yeah, so
is that the one that's in the orange box, or is it a different?
I use one packet of the cacao with reishi, and then I use one packet of the reishi elixir, and I do about 12 ounces, and the taste is good. Okay. The elixir is actually a little on the kind of the bitter, earthy side, which I actually like. And it's a nice big dose of reishi with those two.
Okay. Do you know what color is the box on that? Do you remember? Or the one for the elixir?
It's blue too. I think blue is their reishi.
Okay, it's all right. See, you don't have that one. I don't think you don't carry that elixir in the store. I haven't seen it
yet. I think we're going to be getting it in.
Okay, I'll have to see if I can get it something right. But and the last night, see, I haven't been doing the hot honey, so I put some hot honey that I got from around local.
Yeah.
And what a difference that made with because I put coconut in it, coconut oil, and that. Oh my God!
Isn't that good?
It just like rounds it off. It's amazing, man.
Yeah, it gives it all.
All right, I know you got to go. I want. Yep, I don't know which one it was, so I can, because like I said, the reishi my sleep is improved so much.
Yeah,
and it's not the length; it's just the sleep that I get.
Yep, and yeah, now I get it. All right, I got to move along. I'm going to try to get through these calls and not hold up rolling toe today. Let's go to Tennessee. Mike, welcome.
Hey, happy holidays, Kevin. It's me again from yesterday.
Yeah.
A couple of things I wanted to talk about. And I'm sorry to keep you from your trip to Vegas. Stay away from the crap tables. Number one, I've recently been diagnosed diabetic, type 2, with AC1H8. And
A1C
that was it.
Is how
then
we
the doctors
refer to it.
And welcome to the disease. My doctor really didn't do anything except take metformin. And now it's all on me.
What was your
And I've
A1C?
been researched how to treat. It was an 8.
Oh, that's pretty high.
I'm
that's
getting
elevated.
ready. I was at 252 pounds. Now I'm down to 247 after 3 weeks. And, other than carbohydrates minimized and eliminating all the sweets that I've been throwing in my body, I know better. I mean, I was an athlete, so being a truck driver kind of makes it hard.
No, it doesn't. Stop lying
being
to
also,
yourself.
Well, I'm saying this is my personal challenge. I have been researching on the internet, wherever I could find, and trying to find an application that's basically dedicated for truck drivers with diabetes. I don't know if anything like that exists.
What do you mean an application?
I went to the American Diabetes Association, and they've got meal planners, diet planners.
Stop. Their meal plans and all of their advice are designed to keep you diabetic the rest of your life.
Okay.
And you don't need an app.
The only thing,
don't overcomplicate this. Let me tell you how to get your A1C right in line
IT
in about 3 months.
Okay.
Eat mostly animal products.
Is that what that guy meant about carnivorous?
Yeah, carnivore. Meat, eggs, fish, dairy, cheese, stuff that comes from animals. The more of that you eat and the less plants you eat, and forget processed food, that's just out completely. Just throw all that crap out the window. The more animals you eat, the faster you will normalize your A1C. It's that simple. We don't need an app. Don't complicate this. And do not take advice from any group that has diabetic in their name. They all suck.
Okay.
Seriously, their advice is horrendous. It is designed to do one thing, keep you diabetic the rest of your life. And the fact that you lost 5 pounds in 3 weeks tells me you're not eating properly. I can lose 5 pounds in a day. My weight can swing that much in a day or two, easy. That I don't even consider 5 pounds weight loss. That's just a variance. But if you are eating mostly carnivore, you will start losing a pound a day. That's not unusual. That's the norm.
Okay. I'm driving right now, making mental notes.
Drop the metformin and take berberine instead.
I'll go back to the doctor.
No, don't go back to the doctor, because if you tell the doctor you're dropping your metformin and you're going to take berberine instead, he's going to tell you you're an idiot and there's no proof that supplements actually work and blah, 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 blah. You have a choice here, and I'm going to tell you what your choice is. Stick with your doctor and the American Diabetes Association, and you'll be diabetic the rest of your life. Metformin will be your first drug. Trulicity will probably be your second. 3 or 4 years from now, you'll be put on a third drug because you will still be insulin resistant. You'll be more insulin resistant 3 or 4 years, and you'll suffer all of those medical consequences that all diabetics do. Or you can ignore the doctors and the Diabetic Association and follow the functional medicine doctors who are recommending keto and carnivore, and you'll actually cure your diabetes in a couple months. And as long as you eat that way the rest of your life, it will never come back.
I'm going to listen to the playback. Could you spell out that, I guess, dropping metformin, and you recommended something else?
Berberine.
So, I can listen to the playback.
It's a very simple supplement. Berberine comes from a berry. You can actually get the berries and eat them, but it's almost impossible to get them fresh. And the supplement works better anyway. I mean, we carry berberine in our store. You can find berberine in any health food store. It's a pretty basic supplement. There's absolute proof, tons of testing, that it's every bit as effective as metformin with no side effects.
Okay, I'm not making excuses, and I'm listening to you, and I understand you. I guess I was looking for recipes on what to eat on the truck that doesn't taste like crap. I don't want to be eating puff rice the rest of my life.
Do you like baby back ribs?
Oh, I love them.
Then eat them. Do you like a good burger?
Okay.
Cheese and bacon?
Yeah, I felt like I cheated yesterday at Wendy's, but I understand threw away the bun.
Well, then why did you cheat?
I've been driving this truck.
Why would you consider that cheating if you threw away the bun and ate the meat?
It's just based on what I've read, indicating that you should be able to eat healthier instead of fast food. That's all.
Well, we have to define healthier. The way you're eating now, skip all the fast food. The way you're eating now is garbage. I can honestly cure people's diabetes and they can eat 100% at fast food restaurants. Now, I'm not going to recommend that, but I would recommend that over eating the standard American diet and being diabetic the rest of your life.
Yeah, I see your point. Like I said, I'm new at all of this, and I'm struggling, and so I was just like, okay, I'll go on the meat diet.
And not just meat. There's eggs. Eggs are awesome. Dairy. I don't necessarily want people to overdo the dairy, but cheese is a nice addition. But eggs, fish, all seafood, anything with a face. I've been eating
a lot of tuna fish.
Eat it. But the more plants you stay away from, the faster we're going to fix this.
All right. Thank you. And I wanted to follow up.
Yeah,
unless you have more to say about
just keep calling, and especially call on Wednesdays. We will take even more time with health questions on Wednesdays. I have 2 more questions, so Angie, if you just let the Becketts know, I'm going to wrap up these 2 questions because I've got them, and then we'll get them started. Let's go to Minnesota. Dan, welcome to the program.
Hi, I'll try and make it as quickly as I can here. So I bought a truck over a month ago in the state, and I live in Minnesota, and it's still, I'm waiting to hear back from anything. I'm trying to do the title transfer and get a plate and all that taken care of, but for some reason, Minnesota, I just cannot seem to get anything done here. I'm from Iowa, where it took me half an hour to do all that, and I'm out the door, and here it's been over a month, and I tried the e-service account online, and it just said pending forever. Now it says active, but no plate for this truck or anything. So I know Matt listens quite a bit and calls in, so I didn't know if even he'd be able to help me out with this issue of who to go to, or I call the state and I'm on hold for hours at a time, and finally I just got to hang up because I'm at my wit's end with everything.
We can help you here. So Angie already told me that she's got your information. She's going to pass it on to Matt so Matt can help you. I have another recommendation. Move back to Iowa.
Yeah. I'd love to. I would so love to. My wife probably divorced me, but
no, look,
everything was so much more streamlined in Iowa versus Minnesota. It's just insane what you got to go through here.
I do understand your frustration because I have registered vehicles, commercial vehicles in Ohio, Florida, Colorado, Oregon, Washington. I've been through the hassles. Some states are much easier than others. I've also registered what they consider a commercial vehicle, a tractor, as a non-commercial vehicle because I was using it just to pull an RV around, and that is a total nightmare. We actually spent 8 hours one day here in Oregon in person at the DMV trying to get that done. So I understand your pain. But this is why I would prefer the government not do these kind of things, because they just suck at it.
Yep. Yeah, when I first moved to Minnesota to transfer my truck up here, it took 6 months, all of 6 months. And I thought it was because it was right during COVID.
Yeah,
But here we are a month into it already and still nothing.
I know. Well, Matt's got your information, so Matt's going to help you out with this one.
Okay. Well, I look forward to it. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Matt will be able to help you a lot more than I can on the radio right now. Let's wrap this up in Texas. Mark, you get the final word.
Okay. Yeah, this is Mark in Houston today. Paul's friend, the car hauler that he helps out.
Yeah.
Okay, so like you know, I've been doing this on my own now for like about 8 years. Nastic is the way to go in more ways than one. I just bought fuel in Baytown. Pump price $4.76. My price $3.46.
You know, like you just said,
to $3.46.
Yeah, their fuel card has always been top notch. People love it, and honestly, all of their services. I mean, I've looked there. There's just nobody out there that helping.
They got insurance services.
Right.
They got insurance services. You get access to that. You get access to Rick Gobble. You get access to Henry Seaton. You get access to people that have been in the business a long time in all different facets. If you have a question on compliance or entry-level audits, or and if he does his entry-level audit with his own authority, find a consultant that works in your state with the state DOT, because they're representing the federal government to do the entry-level audit. Just those are the basics right there. I mean, there's some other stuff. Can I give you a couple of restaurant tips for Vegas? Get you a good steak, because I was out there climbing mountains. Herb and Rise and Primal Steakhouse, excellent choice. Probably $65 for a steak. You'll enjoy it.
Sounds excellent.
But yeah, Nastic is the way to go. In more ways than one. The fuel's great. That's why I went there, but I found these other resources, and everybody says, well, I got to take the class. Take the class. Oh, drug consortium. You get drug testing through them. You get in their class. They'll show you how to run it if you want to run it yourself. They do all of that. So
here's the thing, Mark. I've heard people make that complaint for years. Oh, I have to take a class. You shouldn't be complaining about that. It's a really good class. You actually learn quite a bit.
It is. You get access to David Owens. You get access to everybody that's there. It's like you get access. It's like you build relationships. We always talk, every time I call, we talk about building relationships. Build relationships. Use it for that advantage right there.
Yes.
I mean, I've never been to one of the conventions, but I want to go because I know people that go. And it's like, I mean, so, anyway, I think it's a good value, and it's just, I sure like them. And it's like I said, you'll always get happy, nice people when you get them on the phone, and they'll all, ELD. Motive is the way to go. Nastic had Big Road. The Big Road's got horrible service, so I switched to Motive, which is Keep Trucking. Can't complain, except dealing with the Indians. They're a pain in the behind to deal with them.
Yeah.
They're all run by Indians or Canadians, so you got to look beyond that. And, anyway, so.
Got it.
It's necessary. You got to have it, so you got to find one that works with you. And if you don't like it, just like as you say, go to the next one. So,
yep. All right.
That's Mark, all I really got. So
great stuff. I am going to move along. I know the Beckett's are standing by patiently, so I'm going to wrap this up today. I'm going to go play in the snow a little bit, and then I got to head to the airport and to Vegas. So I'll be working this weekend. I'll give you an update on everything next week. Be safe, be profitable, be fit and healthy. Always do the hard work and master the journey.